Hi, in this video, I'm going to talk about one of the design challenges that actually motivated us to create this tool. So this is a challenge we came across when I was working with Katya Arquilla, which this is a slide from her dissertation presentation, where she was testing how different structures of silver yarn would work as electrode. And she found some really interesting findings about the ideal length of the electrode, how long the floats should be. But one of the challenges in this project was just drafting all these different electrodes and being able to sort of systematically change their sizes for testing. So I'm going to go ahead and show us how we might do something like that. So here I've just set up our template that gives us the base size we might want to work it with. And then I'm going to go ahead and fill it in with different electrode structures. So what we saw in that video is that the electrode is just a big rectangle. So if I press Shift, I actually get a square. So it's a big square. This would be 128 by 128 pixels. That sounds about right. Okay, and then this rectangle would actually be filled with a base structure, which for Katya's experiment was just a tabby weave. Oops, let's duplicate. So I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to do the quick action of filling it with tabby weave. Now the next thing we need to do is overlay another element in the center of this. So what I can actually do here is draw a second rectangle over the top and give it a second structure. So since we know the structure isn't going to change each time, I'm just going to go ahead and plug it into the one we know it's going to be, which is a basket weave. Okay, so we have our basket weave structure. I'm actually going to zoom out here so we have a little bit more room. Oh, too much. Here we go. Move this down, move this down. Okay, so we have a twill and a basket weave. And what I'm actually going to do there is I'm going to overlay them. So I'm going to set one on top of the other using this set atop feature. So that's going to be my first draft. And then I'm going to set this draft atop it. And you'll see here it automatically just aligns it with the top left corner. I don't really want that. I want that center. So I'm just going to go ahead and adjust the parameters so it's center. Okay. Now I need the third kind of pad in the center that's going to represent the electrodes. And so what I'm going to do here is actually generate a rectangle object. And since this is 128 by 128, what happens if I make this 100 by 100? How does that sort of fit in there? Let's make it a little bit smaller. Okay. Yeah, that's going to look a little bit better. So we're going to create this pad, which is size 80 by 80, and we're going to fill this pad with different stitch structures. So one of the structures that worked pretty well for Katya was I think a 15-1 twill. So I'll just type in that. And what's actually happening in her structure is she's not just throwing the one conductive yarn, she's throwing a base yarn and then a conductive yarn through the structure. So the twill should actually be stretched so that every yarn kind of picks up one segment of the twill. So I'm going to go ahead and come in here and use my stretch feature. And this stretch feature will actually just duplicate the structure according to how I define it. So I say, okay, repeat each row twice, but don't repeat each column. I plug it into this rectangle, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to overlay those again. So let's come in here. I'm going to overlay this with this. Okay, so, oops, overlay actually isn't the tool I want to use because overlay only keeps the heddle ups. So here you basically just overlaid a twill, or I overlaid a twill on top of the existing draft. I actually want the set atop tool again, which is going to take everything and just set it atop of the other one. And I can come ahead in here again, get it roughly center. Great. All right, so now if I want to create a whole bunch of those electrodes and test them out, I can plug them into this rectangle where they would just be tiled across. And I can, let's close down the width. Let's see, let's make it 200 instead. Nope, 250. 275. 270. Cool. So now I have 2 electrodes, and then I'm going to go ahead and just add a selvage to them. That looks about right. There's some funny business over here where my selvage is repeating. So if I just get down one, that'll sort of offset the plane weave. And of course, we also notice that it's not quite high enough to hold the whole structure. So I can expand that as well. So now I could go ahead and just download this as a bitmap and send it to my TC2. The other thing I can also do is just swap out different structures here. So let's say I want a different twill, or I want to stretch it and add a third base yarn, or I want each twill to jump over 2 warps instead of 1. I can change all those features and it'll automatically change them. And so let's say I changed from a 2-pick structure to a 3-pick structure. Well, now my basket weave would probably need to be updated. So I could go ahead and update that to be 3x3. And in this way, we can just keep generating the drafts we need and really quickly produce them. I'll show you one other nice feature. So I'm going to download this draft as an AdaCAD file. And then I'm going to actually open the old version of AdaCAD, or the original version. And I'm going to open the file that I just saved. So I have to find it in my very long list. Here we go. Open, upload, load. Looks like it's still loading. Here it is. So what we have here is the entire draft. It automatically generated us what we would actually need for the tie-up and treadling if we were going to make this on a hand loom. If you're not interested in that, you can close it. But now we can do other kinds of analysis here. We can look at what it might look like in a visual view. We can view the back of the fabric, and we can go ahead and define more information and do a little bit more fine-tuning on this draft. So with that, just wanted to walk through our electrode case. I hope it's been useful, and I hope you have fun playing with the tools.